Thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Recovery video. Visit their website to learn how the Grizzly Drive drum motor increases the reliability and reduces the cost of ownership of conveyor systems.
Hello again, Kevin Yanik of Quarry here. Wanted to touch on a few of the developments that surfaced in Washington last week as it pertains to the aggregate industry. As many of you saw and probably are aware of by now, the infrastructure bill that passed the Senate this summer did not even take up a vote within the House. There was a lot of hope and excitement that was going to get passed on Thursday, and there were some developments that happened late last week that ultimately prevented the infrastructure bill from coming to a vote in the House, as the more progressive wing of the Democratic Party was wanting to link the infrastructure bill to a multi-trillion-dollar bill, the reconciliation bill that has kind of created a divide, not only among Republicans and Democrats, but among some of the more moderate Democrats and the progressive caucus within the House of Representatives. We saw this summer, too, that there was discussion by the Biden administration, by legislators, that the two bills, the one being the infrastructure bill and the other being reconciliation, that they weren't necessarily linked. But we also saw mixed messages coming out of Washington about that matter. And at the end of the day, it seems like we're not going to see one passed without the other. At the moment, Congress is going to go back to the drawing board and relook at the dollar number, the dollar amount on the reconciliation bill. And if they can see if they can appease the progressive wing of the Democratic Party to come down from what's been reported as $3.5 trillion. And we've heard Senator Joe Manchin talk about maybe half that, $1.5 or $2 trillion. So there's a lot of work there, a lot of reworking of that reconciliation bill, which unfortunately has some impact on infrastructure. And my Quarry colleagues, a few of them were in Washington last week. They had the opportunity to visit with some Congress people, especially some members of the Republican Party, who seemed in vehement opposition of the infrastructure bill. Number one, because it was linked to this reconciliation bill and they can't necessarily get on board with that. But we heard some resistance to the infrastructure bill itself, which had already passed the Senate by, I believe, a 19-vote margin. One Republican congressman shared with my colleagues that there just wasn't enough impact in the infrastructure bill itself to help members of his district, his constituents. There's too much alternate infrastructure, solar, wind, and not enough roads, bridges, highways, and the more traditional forms of infrastructure. And I'm sure that's a narrative that we're going to see play out here over the next few weeks as the president and Democrats try to reorganize and get things together for possible passage of both the reconciliation bill and the infrastructure bill. At this point, probably the best measure any of you can take, any of our readers, is to write your congressperson, phone them, leave them a message, and let them know how important, how impactful and beneficial that infrastructure bill would be to your business, to your district. Ultimately, I think we all know, I've heard over the years, what infrastructure investment does for not just our industry, but our economy as a whole. And so we will play the waiting game a bit further. We've done this before, and we'll see what possibly comes of Washington as it pertains to the infrastructure bill.
Thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Recovery video. Visit their website to learn how the Grizzly Drive drum motor increases the reliability and reduces the cost of ownership of conveyor systems.